So welcome back to Cozy Rosy Crochet, and today I am sharing with you the short wave square. Now this square uses just single crochets and double crochets to create this really cute wave pattern across this granny square, and we're going to be using two different colours to create this blend. Now before we get started, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and of course that notification bell so that you never miss out another one of my crochet tutorials or Hodgepodge blanket and granny squares again. There's 30 squares that have been released as part of this crochet along, and you can find a link in the description box to access all of those granny square patterns, along with a link to follow along for this written pattern itself. Let's find out the materials we need to make our own short waves granny square. So the materials that you're going to need to make your very own short wave square is going to be any Aran weight or worsted weight yarn. Now I'm going to be using two different colours so that we can really showcase this stitch off to its best. All of these yarns are a size 4, so Aran or worsted weight, and I'm using the two colours shade 202, which is champagne white, and then I think I have 245, which I believe is pale lilac off the top of my head. I'm going to be using these two together to create this square. I'm going to be using the corresponding hook size that's recommended for this yarn, which is a 5mm crochet hook. This is my Furls Streamline hook, which is one of my absolute favourites. Of course I have a darning needle because we're going to have a few ends on this one, and I have a pair of scissors as well. So gather all of your materials and let's get started. So our short wave square is worked in rows. So we're going to start by making a chain. So we're going to make our slip knot and place that onto our hook. Now I'm going to be using two colours in this pattern. I think I've already mentioned that, but just to reiterate, my colour A is going to be the champagne white, which is 202, and my colour B is the pale lilac, 245. So once we've got our slip knot on our hook, we're going to start by making a chain of 26, and to do that we just yarn over the hook, bring our hook through the loop on our hook to create that chain, and we do that 26 times. So make your chain of 26 and I'll meet you back for the rest of row 1. So once we have our chain of 26, we're going to start by making one US double crochet into the 4th chain from hook. So we count down from the top, remembering that this loop doesn't count as a stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we yarn over the hook and insert our hook underneath that first loop of that 4th chain. We yarn over, bring our loop back through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now these skip chains count as a stitch, so we have 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets. We're going to work 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 chains. So you can see here we have a stitch coming out of this chain, so we're going to work into this next one. So we yarn over the hook, insert it under that top loop, yarn over, bring our loop up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and we repeat that again. So we insert the hook into the next chain, bring our loop up, pull through 2 and pull through 2. This has created a block of 4 double crochets, and then we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 chains. So we just insert our hook, bring our loop up, yarn over, pull through 2, and we do that into the next 4 chains altogether. So that's number 2, number 3 and number 4. So now we have a block of doubles and a block of singles. We're going to work 1 double crochet into each of the next 4 chains. That's 1, 2, 3 and 4. And we're going to continue to repeat that all the way down our chain, working 4 single crochets followed by 4 double crochets. So continue to repeat that all the way down, and I'll meet you at the end of row 1. So I've reached my last 4 chains, and I'm just going to work 1 single crochet into each of the last 4. So that's 1, 2, 3 and 4. At the end of row 1 we have 12 double crochets and 12 single crochets. Before we go into row 2, we're going to change colour. So I'm just going to move my yarn out of the way, make sure they're not tangled before we even start. And we're going to undo that last stitch so we can change colour properly. I say properly, how we're supposed to. So to do that, once I've undone my last stitch, I'm just going to insert my hook and bring up my first loop. Then I'm going to drop my colour and pick up my new colour, which is colour B. Just going to place that over my hook with the tail at the back and then bring that through the 2 loops to complete that final stitch. Just pulled on that working yarn just to tighten that loop underneath, and we're ready to go straight into row 2. So for row 2 we chain 3, so that's 1, 2 and 3, and that chain 3 does count as a double crochet. Now I'm not going to work over my colour A because we're going to need that on the way back, but if you want to, you can work over your tail from your colour change to bury that a little bit to save you having to weave it in so much. Now because this chain 3 does count as a stitch and it is representing a double crochet, we're not going to work into this stitch underneath the chain 3. We're going to work into that next chain and into that next stitch, and we're going to work 1 double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. So insert the hook into the next one and work our double crochet. That's number 1. 2 and 3. And what you see that we've done is we've worked 1 double crochet into each of the next. We've worked 1 double crochet onto the top of those single crochets from the row below. We're going to work 1 single crochet into the top of these stitches, so that's 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. Now that we're working over these single crochets, we're going to work 4 double crochets, 1 into each of the next 4 stitches. And we're just going to repeat that all the way down. So we work 1 single crochet into the next 4, 1 double crochet, and then we're doing single crochets at the end. So continue to work down row 2 and I'll meet you at the end of row 2. So at the end of row 2 you should still have 12 double crochets and 12 single crochets. So continues in colour B, and we're going to start by making a chain of 1, and then we turn our work and we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. That's 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then we're going to work on top of these double crochets, working 1 double crochet into the top of each stitch. That's number 3 and number 4. So we're going to repeat this all the way along, working 1 single crochet into the next 4, 1 double crochet into the next 4, 1 single crochet into the next 4, ending with 4 double crochets at the end. So continue to work along row 3, and I'll meet you at the end of this row ready to change colour going into row 4. So I just worked half of my last stitch because we're going to change colour at the end of this row. And so I've dropped my colour B and I've brought it to the front of my project because I don't want to get these yarns too tangled. And you'll see that my other colour is at the back of my project. So I'm just going to bring it up and over my hook and complete my last stitch with the new colour. I can pull down on colour B just to tighten that last stitch. So at the end of row 3 you should still have 12 double crochets and 12 single crochets. Going into row 4, we're going to repeat row 3, which is the row we've just worked. So we start with a chain of 1 and then turn our work, and then we work those 4 single crochets. That's 1, 2, 3 and 4. We're going to continue to repeat row 3. So we've worked our 4 single crochets, we then work 4 double crochets followed by 4 single crochets all the way down to the end, and we're going to end with 4 double crochets on this row. So continue to work all the way across for row 4, and I'll meet you in a moment for row 5. So at the end of row 4, we've completed our singles, doubles, singles, doubles, singles, ending on our double crochets. And then for row 5, we're going to repeat row 2. So for row 2, we chained 3, 1, 2, and 3, and that counted as a double crochet. So we just work 1 double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. That's 1, 2, and 3, and then we work 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. We then repeat 4 double crochets, 4 single crochets, 4 double crochets, and we end on the single crochets for row 5. So work all the way along to the end of row 5, and I'll meet you back in a moment for the rest of the repeats for the pattern. So at the end of row 5, you should have ended with your 4 single crochets, and then we're ready to change colour again. So for row 6, you're going to work in colour B, so you need to change back to your colour B. You're going to continue to repeat rows 2 and 5, changing colour every 2 rows. So work rows 2 and 3 with colour B, and then repeat rows 4 and 5 with colour A. You're going to repeat that until you reach row 20, which means that you should end your last repeat on row 4 in colour A, and then come back and we're going to work on our edging. So I've just worked row 20, which is the equivalent of row 4 in colour A, and this is how my square is looking. I hope yours is looking the same. We're going to go straight into the edging, and we start that by chaining 1, and then we're going to work down the side of our square. We start by working our edging around that post of the final stitch that we worked, and we're going to work evenly, working 24 single crochets evenly down the row. So working into the end of the row, and then work 1 around the post as you need to, until you get an even number of 24 down to that first corner. So work down and I'll meet you in the first corner. 23 and 24. You've had to skip a couple of them, it hasn't squished the square too much. And then in this bottom chain here, I'm going to work my corner, which is 1 single crochet, a chain 1, and then a further single crochet worked into that same chain. Then along the bottom, we're going to work along the other side of our chain, working 24 single crochets. So work those and I'll meet you for our next corner. I'm 1 stitch short along the edge. I'm not going to overly worry about it. In fact, I'm just going to work my corner here. So my chain 1 and a further single crochet into that same stitch where my slip knot was. And then we're going to work back up. Now if like me you've carried your yarn, just need to make sure that you're working over that where you can possibly, and we're looking to work 24 single crochets evenly up this side as well. So work those. You can skip your single crochet stitches if you need to. So where I've got 2 singles here, I'm just going to work into 1 of them and then carry on up along, working over those yarns that we've carried. So work your 24 single crochets up this side and I'll meet you for our next corner. So just working my last single crochet of my 24 up the side, and we're ready to work my final corner into this first stitch. So 1 single crochet, a chain 1, and a further single crochet. I'm not going to weave in that tail because it is a different colour. I'm going to bury it in the actual purple stitches. So the final thing to do is just to work one single crochet into each stitch across the top to finish this nice little border, and then we'll work our final corner. So I'll meet you to work our final corner in a moment. So I've just worked my last stitch, so I'm going to work a chain one and a further single crochet just to finish that final corner, ready to slip stitch into that last or first stitch that we made, and we are ready to fasten off. Pull that through. Might need to give this a bit of a light blocking, but actually it's not too bad. So that completes our short wave square. I really like it. I think it looks like sound waves, so I really kind of like this stitch. So thank you so much for joining me. Make your own short wave square as part of the Hodgepodge blanket crochet along. I will see you again tomorrow for another one of our granny square patterns. Until then, keep it cozy.